Is it too late? Reparations for slavery. People who oppose reparations look at where Black Americans are today. They see Black people with home, businesses, college degrees, and a nice family life. This does not represent everyone, of course, but there has been a lot of progress since 1964. What people don't want to talk about is the contribution slaves made to the American economy and made many white people millionaires in their time. Besides cotton, slaves also built the sugarcane and tobacco industries. It took 100 years after slavery was abolished for Black people to finally be on the road to obtaining equal rights and increased pay. The first reparation paid back in January 1865, an order by Union General William T. Sherman allotted 40,000 acres of land confiscated during the Civil War to be given to freed slaves. It was to be sold to them in 40-acre lots. Here is a bill of sale dated in April of 1865. This map shows the highlighted areas in orange. When President Lincoln was assassinated in 1865, the same month that the bill of sale was issued, the next president, Andrew Johnson, reversed that promise by General Sherman and took the lands back without compensating those who had already paid for it. He did this to appease the South, who wanted to divide the Union. The disdain for freed slaves morphed into what became known as the Jim Crow laws. This enforced segregation and was meant to keep the Black community from prospering. This is an article showing a letter to the editor, which shows why whites wanted to keep Jim Crow laws in place. By 1963, people were at the height of mobilizing and fighting against discrimination. The Jim Crow laws were keeping Black people from having decent wages, nice schools, and owning a home in the suburbs. Finally, the Civil Rights Act was passed and signed by President Lyndon Johnson in 1964, 99 years after President Lincoln declared slavery as illegal. Black people still had a hard time afterward for decades. People did not change their racist views right away, if at all. After President Reagan signed a bill paying reparations to Japanese Americans who had been put into concentration camps for 4 years, from 1942 to 1946, Black Americans began to think more seriously about their own payout. H.R. 40 was introduced in 1989. As stated before, I think it has not passed because people cannot see the harm to Black Americans living today. But if you were to think about it, the what-if factors. What if slaves had been given part of the profits from their labor once they were free? What if they had not been discriminated against during Jim Crow? There was Black Wall Street in Kansas in the 1920s. Whites had a hard time accepting that Black people had made it and destroyed all those businesses and homes in a race riot. What if so many Black people had not been killed by lynching and false accusations? What if there were not massive incarcerations to Black people? Don't you think we would be just as prosperous with land and businesses that would have been handed down to the next generation? The common denominator of the successful reparations shown here is that they all paid victims that were directly harmed. These are proposals that have been given to various reparation committees today or in the present. David Horowitz is a conservative writer, and he wrote an article giving his 10 reasons why reparations are bad. Some of these I consider to be just irrational. One being that blacks owe America a debt because there were good white Americans that ended slavery and that they gave their lives in the war to free slaves and also eventually gave them civil rights. So, if I was kidnapped and raped, do I then owe a debt to that kidnapper when I am set free alive? Do I need to show him such gratitude? He should never have kidnapped me in the first place. White America should never have enslaved us and sold us like cattle and declared us as property that could be killed without consequence, raped without consequence, and beaten bloody without consequence. There should be a consequence, and I don't know what form it will take, but America owes a big debt to Black Americans for making America this prosperous country it is today. Thank you.